Okay, so here we are on Super Bowl weekend. Hope you're doing well. I don't know if you have a dog in the fight, but I don't really, but I usually like to pick one team to root for, and it's pretty arbitrary, so I decided I'm going to root for Kansas City. Don't ask me why. I won't be heartbroken if they don't win. But anyway, that's kind of I like to kind of be rooting for somebody, keep my interest in the game a little bit stronger. Even maybe place a small bet. Anyway, today I have the capo on the second fret. Just letting you know that. So the first thing I wanted to do is we had talked briefly yesterday about the augmented chord, and I told you I wanted to follow up on that and give you at least a little bit of a understanding on the augmented chord. Looking at the lesson from last week when we're coming into the chorus, right there, that's where we have that augmented chord, which is essentially we're on a D chord there, and what we're doing is we're making it a D augmented. And that just creates that leading tone into the G chord, so that there's your voice leading there. Okay, so typically, if you're looking at a chord, if you happen to look at a chord chart and it just says like C augmented. Okay, so here's a C chord. I'm just going to play the inner four strings. I'm not going to play the top E or low D. The inner four string C chord, right? So simply put, when they're just saying the word using the expression C augmented, that augmented is referring to the fifth of the chord C, D, E, F, G. So in this case, it's the G, which is the open string. So if we wanted to make that C augmented, we'd have to bar our first finger onto the G string to raise that. Okay, there we have that augmented chord. And that normally would go to an F chord. 3, 3, 2, 1. So you'd hear that voice leading. So that's normally where that chord would go. It doesn't happen to, but I can guarantee you that 90% of the time, when you have that augmented chord, it's acting as a dominant chord, and that C is dominant over F. By that I mean if you were in the key of F, the C chord would be, the dominant chord, the 5 chord. I think you understand something about that. If not, and you'd like a little bit more clarification, let me know. But anyway, so that's the first point. Normally, if you're looking at a chord sheet and it says just a chord name, C augmented, D augmented, what they're talking about is raising that fifth tone of the chord by half a step. So augmented generally means the same as sharp. You could say C with a sharp 5, but augmented is how they normally refer to it. So if that would be, pretending the capo ain't there, if that was a C augmented, then you could move that up, C sharp augmented, D augmented, okay? Now, the other way you might see the term augmented is if it's referring just to a particular note. And what I mean by that is, if you saw a chord that said D7 augmented 9, okay? So that means they'd want you to play a D7 chord and then augment the 9. The 9 in the key of D is E. Okay, if you were to count to D and go up 9, you'd come to an E note. So that would mean they'd want you to play a D7 chord, augment the 9, which is E, so you'd want to raise that up to F. And you can basically augment any note you want, and all that really means is to raise the note by half a step. Okay, So I wanted you to just kind of have a sort of a basic understanding of that. This way when you see it, at least if you see it on a sheet of music or wherever, at least you'll conceptually know what they're talking about. Okay, so enough on that. So what we're going to do, as we normally do in so many of these cases, is we're going to expand on how great thou art by modulating. One of our favorite ways to embellish a song, okay, is to modulate, creates interest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play through the final chorus of the arrangement from last week, once again with the capo on the second fret. I have a reason for putting it on the second fret today, and I'll tell you why later. So looking at that chorus, there's our augmented. Okay, so we end on that D chord, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use that D chord to get us to G, because in the key of G, D is the dominant chord. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and look at playing the song in the key of G. Conveniently, the last note of the song in the key of D is also the first note of the song in the key of G. So we just hold that D chord. So there you've played it and you're all done in the key of D, and you want to continue playing, but you want to make it a little bit more interesting, so you decide to modulate. So we have the open D, and then we continue on. Okay, that would be the the next verse of the song. Or if we were keeping it just using the first verse, "O Lord my God," that would be the "O Lord my God." Okay, now we're in the key of G. Okay, so I'm going to play the final phrase again from last week with the with the embellished version. Just the "How Great Thou Art." We've ended the song, and then we start. Now we're in the key of G. Okay? Now typically, just as a note, I use that chord a lot when I'm playing in drop D, which I tend to be doing more often these days. I just really like the drop D and the options it gives you with that lower string. When you're playing that chord that I have written there, that 3, then nothing, and then open, 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 if you want to, you can put the pinky on the 5th fret of the A string and strum all 5 strings. All you're doing if you do that is doubling the open D, the 4th string. I tend not to, but I just wanted to point out that you could do that. Great shakes or not. Okay, so that's the "Oh Lord my God." Then we have fill, right? Now that's a little dissonant. Once again, you know how I feel about dissonance. I love it. When we get to the next measure, where we have the 3rd fret of the on the D string, so what you want to do is take advantage of the open string in the previous measure and lift, and you know, when you play that open G, I'm lifting and dropping my ring finger down onto the 3rd fret, and at the same time I'm putting my pinky down on the 3rd fret of the B string, so I'm ready to play the next chord. From the beginning, lift, and there I am. I'm going to play that note, that 3rd fret, and then I'm all set to play the next 2 strings because I've already got my pinky in place. And then I'm dropping my middle finger onto the 2nd fret, creating an inverted G7 chord. Okay, from the beginning. Okay, once again, we're just playing the same melody, the same song in a different key. Right, when I in. Okay, so we have that 2nd finger down there on that 2nd fret of the A string, and that's leading to the next chord, the C chord. Okay? Awesome wonder, right? So I'm pointing that out so you can see the voice leading there. Sorry, from the top. Us up to the C chord. I like to point that out because once again, the more you appreciate those things and can recognize them and hear them, it brings you more into the song in a creative and artistic sense, and not just, once again, moving fingers. And that's something you want to try to do as you continue to play, is realize that you can be as creative and artistic as anybody. You really can. That's not, you know, something that just certain people have. Maybe certain degrees, but anybody can be invested in the song artistically, emotionally, and all that sort of thing. And so that's why I point those things out, so you can see them and appreciate them and be aware of them, okay? Once again, one more time from the top, then we'll continue. Sorry. Lifting, voice leading to the C chord, open A, okay? And then what we have there is we have the open A, and then we bring the, drop the middle finger and bring the 1st finger up. It's a little awkward, okay, to have that, that 1, 2, open, 2, open. Okay, kind of a little bit of a strain on the hand. If you find it easier, you could put the pinky on the B string. Kind of makes it a little bit less, but it's a little bit of an awkward chord, but nothing that's too difficult. And so what we have there, if you look at that 2nd measure of the 2nd line and just look at the lowest note, we have the A, and then on the A string we go to the 1st fret. And then you'll see in the 3rd measure of that line, we're up to the 2nd fret again. So once again, there's that voice leading. So you want to appreciate that that's happening. Okay? From the top. We just have that simple arpeggio. Okay, I'm going to go back just briefly to the opening. At that very beginning there where we have the open, 4 open, and that second measure in that line, I go out of my way to try to keep that G string ringing. So when I put that 4 down, so I get that dissonance. So you want to try to keep that G string ringing. And then we're lifting on that second open G, right? And up we go. Voice leading from here to here. Open A sharp. Right, then we get back to the inverted G chord. Little arpeggio. Now we're on the third line, first measure. Nice full D chord. Now when we get the second half of that measure, 4-0-0-5-5, I'm bringing my thumb over. Like that. Just bringing the ring finger down to catch the 5. Again, the voice leading, we have this bass note here that our thumb is on. That's going from here to here in that next chord. Once again, just pointing them out. And then a simple arpeggio. And then we're going to have the turnaround in the next measure, the repeat. Okay, I'm going to play from the top. Turnaround, open, 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 2. Okay, so when you get to that turnaround, that final measure in line 3, you can just play those 3 notes if you want. If you want to get the little walk up, it's written in there. But what you have to do is you have to kind of bar that first finger, so you have 2, 2, 3. Okay. And then I put down my ring finger for the 4, 2, 3. So that measure would sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, not necessary. I know some of these grabs are a little tricky. If you can get them, great. Sometimes you have to, just kind of contort your hand to where it needs to be. And that would take you back to the repeat sign, the open G. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it through a few times, and I'm going to repeat several times, and sometimes I'll play it with the little turnaround there where it has the 2, 4 and the third measure of the third line, and sometimes I won't. Doesn't really make a difference. So we're kind of doing this as a play along. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. One more time. Okay. So I'll just do it one time from the end of the other arrangement in the key of D. I'll just play the final couple of phrases. Let's see. I'll just play just the final phrase, the final "How great thou art." Okay. 2, 3, 4, 1, and then we would go into that. Okay. So when you're transitioning from that, the old arrangement, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4. That brings us into the new one. On that art, that final art, if you want to play some arpeggios in there during the remaining beats like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, just random arpeggios to fill up the 4 beats, or just leave it. 2, 3, 4, 1. Here we go, new key, right? There we go. Okay. So that gets us into the new key, and hopefully you're doing well with this. I often assume that if I haven't heard anything, that you're doing okay. You seem to be enjoying it, and I'm happy of that. After all, there's no point in doing any of this if you're not enjoying it. I know I certainly enjoy playing everything, but I have a soft spot in my heart for gospel tunes. I just think they translate well to the guitar. So enjoy. Any questions, let me know. Bye-bye.